Welcome back, dear viewers. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching the Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International, and now it's time for our press review segment. For today, we're going to be looking at the major headlines in the Egyptian dailies, and we're going to be analyzing them and commenting them with our guest here in the studio. And for today, we're most delighted to be joined by Mrs. Vivian Morcos. She's a political commentator. First of all, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. And dear viewers, we kick off today's press review from حواري, where we read President Abdel Fattah ElSissi invited on Wednesday U.S. President-elect Donald Trump to visit Cairo in a telephone call in which ElSissi congratulated Trump personally on his triumph in the U.S. presidential elections. In a statement issued on Wednesday by the Egyptian presidency, ElSissi expressed his hope for more cooperation between Egypt and the United States in all fields. Trump also expressed his wish to meet with the Egyptian president soon. Mrs. Vivian, if you can tell us about the significance of this phone call and, of course, your comment on the victory of Donald Trump in general.
First of all, the victory of Donald Trump was a landslide, actually, a very big victory, and the shock and the surprise to some people. I was not surprised because I expected, I had the vision that he would win anyway. So it's a new type of presidency to the States, outside the box of the normal figures that always took office in the White House. A person who is not, who has never been to the White House, an independent businessman who is
away
very
from
rich,
politics.
Away from politics, and that's why he always said what he wants, because he didn't have any sponsoring from anyone. He did all the campaign with his own money, so he didn't owe anyone anything, and he said things bluntly as it should be said. So I think a new era for America will start, which is going to be sort of concentrating on the development of America, as he said, because he's a real estate specialist and all over the world. So he knows the potential of his country and the needs of his country to be built as it should be. Now, the chance that President Sisi had while he was in the United Nations meeting in New York, General Assembly, and he met these few minutes with who was the candidate then. And actually, President Trump now said that there was a very good chemistry between the two presidents, which is because anything now, everything will be much easier, because when there is a chemistry, there is an understanding of everybody's, both sides, actually.
Yes.
So
we hope that this will pave the way for a new era between the relations between...
Exactly. And it was a good thing because, of course, President Sisi has explained what is real Islam, what is these terrorists who are pretending to be Muslims, because you don't know things because it's so differently presented to them there, and when you speak to the person directly to that, there is a lot of explanation and a lot of things, and he understands, and one of his first tasks is to fight terrorism, because it's touching as well states now that it's increasing, and it's going to be a very good thing between both presidents.
Yes. Moving on to الأهم newspaper, Hillary Clinton conceded the 2016 U.S. White House race to Republican Donald Trump on Wednesday and offered to work with the president-elect, who she hoped would be a leader for all Americans. She urged her assembled staff and supporters, deflated after recent national opinion polls indicated a good chance at victory, to continue to work rather, for a better nation. Have you seen the concession speech and your remarks on what Hillary Clinton said after this heated presidential race?
Yes, of course, she was very strong in not showing her deception to the results, of course, because she was almost sure that she would win. And she said it was a very elegant speech, actually, and very eloquent. And though she didn't win, but she's saying to her supporters that you can still do things together, and we will try to work together, even not in 4 years, but maybe sooner even than later. So there is something that's open into negotiation with the new president, maybe into having a role with him, but I doubt very much.
Yes, to الأهم online, where we read governments from Asia to Europe reacted with stunned disbelief on Wednesday to the victory of Donald Trump in the U.S. presidential election, while populists hailed the result as a triumph of the people over a failed political establishment. German defense minister and ally of Chancellor Angela Merkel described the result as a huge shock and questioned whether it meant the end of Pax Americana, the state of relative peace overseen by Washington that has governed international relations since World War II. And also in related news from El Shrout newspaper, U.S. Ambassador to Egypt, Stephen Beecroft, on Wednesday asserted that the Egyptian-U.S. relations would remain strong. Addressing an open ceremony to follow up the election's outcome, he said the coming U.S. president is aware of the importance of cooperating with Egypt and achieving stability and peace in the region. Mrs. Vivian, pouring reactions, mixed indeed reactions to the election of Donald Trump. Your comments?
Of course, the whole world was a surprise because no one everybody expected that Hillary would win 52-50 around this. But the fact as well, we should not forget that there were 4 candidates. They were not, everybody is talking about Hillary and Trump, but they were not talking about the 2 other candidates. And the presence of those 2 candidates played a role into dividing a little fraction that helped the advancing of Trump at that time. So he won, and no one expected that, actually, because she was so much, she's been, how long has she been in politics? Almost 20 years.
Yes.
From first lady to she's done it all. And it was sure as if she's going to the White House on roller skates, but it didn't happen. So he is shocked, although a lot of the populations, you could see on TV that a lot of the populations were very happy all over Asia that a new president and a new era. Actually, it's a new era because all the past era was concentrating on war. The foreign affairs in the United States was mainly concentrating on war in the Middle East and Afghanistan and all that. And I think now he is calling really for peace and building the United States.
Speaking about peace, do you think that the election of Donald Trump will come in favor of the Arabs when it comes to the case of the Palestinian people retaining their returning their rights? Yes.
Look, usually the pattern that was followed before is a plan that was there from Balfour time, and they're following it now until now. Every president, whatever plans he said, he had a certain steps dictated, almost dictated, and he had to follow from the Congress and all that. Now, you're not sure because to a certain extent what we're used to that he will follow the rules of the United States as a country and that has an institution that follows certain aims all over his life. But will he do that really? Can he get out of that? That's a bit interrogation point. But I think no one can deny the right to Palestinians to have their land. And if so, even it will have an opposition from all the Arab leaders, and especially Egypt, because we are one of those who are defending the Palestinian cause more than anyone.
Yes.
So we'll wait and see. And what else? Talking about the Pax America, because there are new powers that are developing in the world. We're seeing that China is really emerging. China was always there. China has always a good GDP and everything, but they were never concentrating on military, on the military side. But now they are starting to concentrate on the military side.
A very powerful economy as well.
Of course. So also America has a very powerful economy, but the aim, what he's saying, he wants peace, because he was criticizing the fact that all the destruction in the Arab world was happening under Hillary Clinton. So he is definitely concentrating on peaceful solutions. So we hope that he will agree about the rules of the Palestinian people and the rights to existence.
Indeed,
as well.
the performance of the new U.S. administration remains to be seen, as Donald Trump will be inaugurating on January. We hope to see, as you mentioned, the new era in the relations between the U.S. and the Arabs and also the whole world. Moving on to الأهم newspaper, the committee formed last week by the President Abdel Fattah ElSissi to review the cases of Egyptian youth detainees said on Wednesday that the final list it would send to the President for consideration would not include Brotherhood members. Tariq al-Khouli, an MP and a member of the committee, told parliamentary reporters that the committee is currently discussing with the authorities on who could be included on the final list. The first group would include names of individuals who received final court verdicts. The second group includes detainees under precautionary detention, especially minors or those suffering illnesses. A positive move.
Of course, it's a positive move, and it was a very intelligent proposal, actually, to give the responsibility to a group of youth to decide who is to be detained and who is not.
Yes.
Because everybody was criticizing the president or the Ministry of Interior on those detainees and why they were detained and all that. So when you see and you live the experience yourself, you understand why you take some actions. So it was a very good thing, because we are looking upon those youth, the new youth, to see all the sides of our life. And this is a very important part. And they are taking very serious decisions, because we cannot accept that someone who is trying to destroy and kill and all that, who is detained, to go out and be free. And that's what they're saying, if they belong even to the Muslim Brotherhood, because they have a certain ideology. And this ideology is not acceptable for us and for the Egyptian youth and for the Egyptian future. So just for this reason, some of them should be detained, and a lot of other people, they're looking into their papers very deeply, and they will have the decision very soon on the 20th of November. So they were acting very fast as well, and they're very organized, and we'll see what the outcome will be.
Yes. To الوفد newspaper, moving on to some economic news. The Egyptian Stock Exchange trimmed early losses, finishing Wednesday in the green territory for the 10th trading session in a row. The market capitalization registered the highest mark since May 28th, gaining 8.5 billion Egyptian pounds to close at 500.7 billion Egyptian pounds. Trading value reached 1.8 billion Egyptian pounds after 741 million shares were traded. And also to other economic news, but from Al-Masri اليوم this time, the US dollar exchange rate inched down against the Egyptian pound by 4 p.m. Cairo time on Wednesday at Egypt-based banks. The US-Egyptian dollar pair traded at 16.9 and 17.75 for buy and sale, respectively. And also from حواري اليوم, the head of the IMF praised Egypt's recent measures and called on the World Lender Executive Board to finalize a $12 billion loan package to help rebuild the economy of the Arab world's most populous country. Lagarde said she would recommend that the IMF Executive Board approves Egypt's request for the $12 billion in loans when it meets tomorrow. Just a couple of news, but related to each other. First, let's comment on each one of them very briefly. The performance of the Egyptian stock and also the exchange rate between the U.S. dollar and the Egyptian pound. And of course, this comes as Donald Trump wins the presidential election.
Of course, as well. But the fact that the shares now would be interesting to start buying shares, because it will be a time where shares will increase rapidly with the new president, because he's going to take as well a direction of building. Usually when there is a building and development, the shares increase, because there is always a lot of income that comes with it. And hopefully with Lagarde, of course, after all the measures that were taken, these difficult measures, and that was a great decision because it was time that we did it. Maybe if it was done 30 years ago or 20 years ago or 10 years ago, the effect would have been a bit like something to be accepted slowly. But the fact that it didn't happen, and it had to happen for the economy, and now hopefully that a lot of people would be working, a lot of industry will be reopening, and a lot of export will be taking place and bringing a lot of money and a lot of investors, of course, because of the value of the Egyptian pound is very interesting to investors to come back. So there are a lot of movements, and very soon we'll be having those funds from the IMF. But I want to say something there, because it's not because we are having a lot of measures and economy that we should continue living as we were. We really have to, everyone on his side, to make a lot of efforts in reducing our spending in order to help not only ourselves, because if we live with the country and with all the loans, we have to pay it somehow. So if we do that, we will help the country in spending these money in the right things. Yes. Not just for food and waste and all that. We can make some economy. Every country in the world, when we are lucky we don't have wars, very big wars that we are enduring ourselves, and there is a war in Sinai, but we're not even feeling that. Yes. So we have to do our contribution in reducing our spending, our use of electricity. You know, if every district in Egypt switch off the light for 10 minutes every day, that will make a lot of economy to the country.
Yes, they will save a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, if Alexandria, you have to do 10 minutes, and Cairo 10 minutes and all that, it will make a great amount of reduction. So, but it will need some effort and some sacrifice from the population. So we have to help somehow.
Yes, thank you so much for your insight. Dear viewers, by this, we wrap up this segment of the press review in this edition of The Breakfast Show. We were most delighted to have with us Mrs. Vivian Morcos, Dr. Vivian Morcos, political commentator. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Dear viewers, a short break, and we'll be back to resume the remaining segments of The Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International.